18 months since your favourite podcast abruptly came off the air. Largely due to the incarceration of Charlie Norton. But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are celebrating the return of Charlie Norton, Goalie Metcalf, and Midnight in Baghdad. Charlie, welcome back into the studio after all this time.
Great to be back.
It absolutely.
A free man.
It is great for you to come back a free man. This is the first time you've been under house arrest basically for 18 months.
And social media and everything limited. Yeah, my account's shut down.
Yeah. So it must be exhilarating to be here.
It's exhilarating but also frightening. Because I'm nervous. I feel the world outside has changed, and I presume a lot of what's going to happen tonight is you'll kind of fill me in on that.
Yeah, well, as I said, we sent you some stuff during the week there so you could actually kind of get adjusted. So I want to see what kind of stands out from your point of view in relation to it too. But it is great to have you back. And I must admit, I'm a little bit nervous as well. 18 months is a long time out of the game.
Yeah.
It really is. And people have been wondering, where have they gone? What have they done? What happened? They've heard rumours. We won't go into too much detail in relation to it, but we can't for I guess personal and indeed legal reasons. We shouldn't get into it. But we're celebrating your return and the return of Midnight in Baghdad. But we're also celebrating something, and I'll cheers you to that.
Return of the MIB.
Return of MIB. We're also celebrating something else today.
Really?
We're celebrating the birthday of a former guest and probably long-time fan of the show, Norman Smiley. Do you remember Norman Smiley?
I do, yeah, with the pictures of his old town hall or whatever it was.
No, you're thinking of Buzz Holloway, and we'll get to, we'll get to him later on.
No, I don't remember Norman then.
We'll get to him later on. He actually wrote to us, but let's talk about Norman Smiley. Norman, the American guy that we had on the show. Do you remember?
Oh yes, I remember him.
Yeah. So it's Norman's birthday today, and we want to wish you a very happy birthday. I know you're eagerly awaiting to see this particular episode, but it kind of got me wondering who else's birthday is it today. And would you believe you Norman? You share your birthday with a lot of kind of famous people, as I think most of us do to some respect.
I suppose, yeah.
But
who's he sharing it with?
Robert Patrick. I think he was the Terminator, wasn't he?
Yeah, and
he was
too.
Yeah.
Now a victim of the Me Too movement, unfortunately.
Yeah. I can't confirm that. I think possibly, and I don't mean to be blasé about that, but who isn't these days?
I meant it generically.
yeah. Not that we're making an allegation. No, okay. No, but like seriously, you have to be careful what you're saying. We're on camera now, mate. For Christ's sake, do you know what I mean? You got to watch that stuff. Bryan Adams turned 60 today. The 5th of November 2019, just in case you're wondering, folks. Are you alright, Charlie?
I don't want to say what I know about him.
Okay, Bryan Adams, yeah. A fun fact. In addition to singing the popular song from the movie, Adams had a small role in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
We know how we got that, don't we? Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, exactly. A great producer in his time and not found guilty of any wrongdoing at this time.
His trial started this week.
It has commenced, and you may hear about it on a future show. Sam Rockwell turns 51 today, which is very, very interesting.
He's a good actor, yeah.
Yeah, he surely is.
You feel he never made it big, huge in the way he could have.
No, but he's there. You'd know him. Do you know what I mean? If you came down the street, you'd know who he was. He's good. Matthew McConaughey, how do you say that name? Is also his birthday today.
Is he still alive?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
He was at death's door that time.
That was in one of the films he did. Yeah, in fairness. And we're looking at Des Bryant, former Cowboys wide receiver, receiver. Went to the Saints, and I think he's a free agent at the moment.
You know your stuff, or is this research?
No, because Des Bryant would be from the former Cowboys receiver. So Norman is a Cowboys fan, so I thought it'd be relevant to bring it up.
That's very nice.
So a lot of stuff happening out there, a lot of people's birthdays, and it's kind of amazing when you hear about people's having the same birthdays as other people. But it's not really, is it?
No, I suppose. I actually saw it there just before you clicked down. You mentioned Bryan Adams' birthday.
Yes.
And then when I was looking at the
It's
list
actually
of other
Ryan
birthdays
Adams as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
That is a killer.
Yeah, it's Ryan Adams' birthday as well, and Ryan gets so annoyed when he's confused with Brian, and it obviously not helped by the fact that they have the same birthday.
A victim of the Me Too movement, and I'm not joking this time.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Into Ryan or Brian?
Ryan.
Okay, Ryan with an
Ryan
R.
Adams,
yeah.
yeah.
What happened there? Tell us.
I used to like him, and I remember I always have fond memory of my first girlfriend bringing her to see him, and he was wearing like really tight blue jeans, and we were up near the top, and all the girls around me, it was mainly girls at it, even though I think he's a great musician, but they were all loving him, but it was just his ass. But I was checking like had he released anything recently, because he was very, very prolific, at least one album a year, usually two. I hadn't heard anything from him in a while, and it turns out he's gone total radio silence because he's been accused of not of rape but of psychological exploitation and sexual exploitation, but not rape, whatever the difference is. But there's no court case or anything. He hasn't been arrested as yet, but it was an autobiography by one of his exes, and then other people came forward. So interesting.
Is that actually true?
Genuinely.
Because I want to be careful here that we're not going to be liable. You've researched that, and it's the Ryan Adams for the 5th of November birthday. Who's the singer?
Yes. No, not the famous singer. Different guy.
A completely different guy. A completely different Ryan Adams.
No. It's I just like to confirm that it's not the musician. Sorry.
It's not.
Yeah,
So
no.
it's just a random Ryan Adams. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
The actor.
Is there an actor, Ryan Adams? Are you thinking of Ryan?
Prince of Thieves?
No, you're not thinking about Ryan
Gosling.
No, Ryan Reynolds. Is that who you're thinking of?
Well, yeah, but he hasn't been accused of anything.
So you're talking about Ryan Adams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to apologise for making all that up.
He's a singer-songwriter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whose birthday is today.
Yeah. Is he just Ryan Adams, the son of Bryan Adams?
No,
they're not. So,
but look, scroll down there. No,
I don't want to get into a whole thing
know
of looking at the internet. You should have all this research.
Just click back for 1 second.
But I think what's important here is that there's no allegations of sexual misconduct whatsoever.
Click down. You used the word sexual misconduct, and it's right there.
Okay, we're starting to see some evidence. I have a lot to say. I'm going too soon because the truth matters. Singer rights. Alright, so we can confirm that what you're saying is true. Wow, that's shocking. Shocking stuff.
Look, that they're saying that they're right, didn't I? Oh.
That is unbelievable stuff. Well, at the end of the day, happy birthday to Norman, and we hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks for listening to us. Charlie, talk to me about. I'm not sure what that sound is. I thought we were in airport mode.
You told me, yeah.
Well,
okay, go on anyway.
Oh yeah, but as you know, 18 months is a long time. So what has shocked you recently in all the material that you were sent to summarise the last 18 months? What and I'd like you to refer to your notes if you need to. What shocked you about the world? What's the latest news story that's bugging you?
From the last 18 months, like what's the most surprising one?
And I'm sure you have this in your notes. We're at this section now.
Sorry.
Where you take out your notes.
Actually, I didn't do any research on that at all. I'm really sorry. No, I'll hold my hand up for that one.
Okay.
Sorry.
So you don't have the stories?
I thought we were doing the crazy stories from the last week, that format.
Yes,
sorry.
That's what we're doing.
Sorry.
What did you think I meant?
I don't know. I thought we were on Ryan Adams there.
No, we've moved away from Ryan Adams.
Now, what I noticed in previous shows that you did, and it was very subtle, but very, very well organised.
Excuse me.
That it was only when I re-listened to some of the shows that I noticed you had a kind of thematic approach. You were moving like a stepping stone across a pond, taking us through, for example, the World Cup team in episode 1 of season 4. So I don't have any thematic basis, but maybe you can flow into certain things you've heard from.
Absolutely, I will. And I did pick up on that myself as well. It was actually expertly done, wasn't it? The journey you were taking on. I did notice that.
It was brilliant. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And I think that's why you should re-listen to some of the old shows. But anyway, you mentioned airport mode, so I'm gonna try to on the spot have a thematic link there. I don't know if you heard about this chap. He is a man who was caught at the airport for. So
I think I know. Is this Amric?
Yes.
Yes. Go on. Sorry to interrupt your story. Go on. Tell us.
So this chap, he's only in his early 30s, and he was trying to board a plane in Delhi, disguised as an 81-year-old. So he had a fake passport.
Yeah.
So he's wrapped up. He has his beard all dyed white because he's an Indian. And but the officers got suspicious when they were asked. Now he was stopped for a random search. So I wonder if they're suspicious by viewing him. It wasn't because he was an Indian anyway, because it was in an Indian airport. So it would have been definitely random in that aspect.
Okay.
But he wouldn't. They asked him to stand up, and he was a bit dodgy. He wouldn't get out of the wheelchair, even though they had special aids to help old people stand up. So he was exposed, and when they looked closely at him, they realised like the bottom of his beard was black and so on. So two things jumped out at me.
He was pretending to be a woman.
No, he was pretending to be an 81-year-old man.
All right. Okay.
And he had a fake passport of an 81-year-old man. And the man's name is Amrik Singh, this fake passport.
Yes.
The actual chap who was doing it hasn't been identified. So I know it's not funny, but I found it actually quite worrying. Because I looked up a lot of news websites trying to find more information, of which there is none. So there's two questions that I think haven't been dealt with yet in the media. The first one, he was trying to board a flight to New York.
Okay.
Now, why was he disguising himself to try to get from India to New York? Because the man, the 32-year-old, as far as I can see, has no crimes against him. He's not on a watch list. That's what I was thinking. He must be on a watch list and he's trying to, get into America illegally. But he's not. So why would you think someone would fake a passport to say they're 81 and then disguise themselves and put themselves in a wheelchair to board a flight, rather than use your own actual passport?
There has to be some kind of an agenda there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be a negative or a bad thing. Could it have been an experiment? Could it have been a YouTuber trying to say, look, this is what I did? Because you see a lot of that happening now. Look how I got into the stadium by wearing a yellow vest, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe just to see, could he do it?
To expose security, maybe, or something.
Maybe, yeah. Or maybe there is something more nefarious there. But
yeah,
it's definitely an interesting one.
Yeah. No, it's not even interesting in and of itself. It's the fact that no newspaper seem to be asking that question. Like, America isn't saying, why was this person trying to come into our country? I just thought that was an interesting gap in that story that I would love to know more about. And the other interesting thing was, so first of all, what do you think he was arrested for?
Providing a false instrument to get onto the plane, like false documentation.
Interesting, yeah. So it had nothing to do with the flights. He was charged. Again, this sounds very vague, but charged. Now remember, it's it's India. Charged with impersonation.
Yeah.
Which suggests that's illegal.
Absolutely. He obviously purported to be one person when he was in fact a different person, and to do that he would need documentation to do so, which is, I assume, the paper's way of saying that he used a false instrument.
Himself.
Okay.
Very interesting.
It is. And it's actually very funny that you brought that up, because this was going to be one of my stories for the day. It was actually supposed to be one of my top stories, but we'll go straight into it. Have you read this situation where the Ukrainian adoptee accused by Indiana parents of being a 33-year-old woman speaks out?
What?
Yeah, I know. And we talked about fluidity, and we're going straight into a similar situation. So what's happening here is this Indiana couple, like from Indiana in America, adopted a Ukrainian baby.
Actually, a baby. Like, you know the way you can adopt a child?
Yes, no, a baby. An actual, like a 6-year-old child. They adopted a 6-year-old child. Yeah, who they say is actually 33.
Okay.
And the whole thing has been a scam.
That's crazy.
Extraordinary, isn't it? So Natalia Barnett, an orphan with dwarfism, opened up to Dr. Phil in an exclusive interview about the accusation. So this has been on Dr. Phil, so it is legitimate.
Yeah.
Barnett's adopted parents, Christine Barnett and Michael Barnett, believe she lied about her age and was actually 22 or even a 33-year-old woman.
Jesus Christ.
She was abandoned by her parents after they claimed she lied about her age. and they basically
parents abandoned her.
they basically moved away from her and left her in an apartment. They did give her the apartment, but they gave her no means to kind of fend for herself.
At what age was she?
6 or something, or 6 or 8, but they think she's 33. So,
sorry. This is the story the parents were told.
Yes,
right.
Yeah. So they're divorced there now. They got a doctor, and the doctor.
Hold on a sec.
What?
The parents of the adopting parents.
They
got divorced.
They end up getting divorced.
Okay.
They adopted her in 2010, and a doctor determined she was estimated to be around 8 years old. All right. In 2014, she came to the US through an adoption in 2008 from her native Ukraine, and they adopted her 2 years later. But now some doctors saying that she's actually 33.
Right. Well, I don't think Dr. Phil is an actual doctor.
No, but they employed the experts to come in and do it.
Okay. So Dr. Phil's expert doctors think the woman is 33. I wonder, I know you can test bones when someone's dead. Like when an autopsy's been carried out, you can tell roughly someone's age. But how would you determine someone's age when they're alive? Is there a skin test? I think you can
do like bone density checks and stuff like that.
Okay. And presumably then
this
woman would have had to agree to let them do that to her.
They recently told ABC News, Good Morning is America, that they believe Natalia could be old as 33. In her interview with Dr. Phil, the host asks Natalia if she's a 33-year-old scam artist. She's painted you as an evil dwarf that's going to poison their coffee or stab them in their sleep. They say you scammed them, lied about your age, and terrorised them. Like, apparently the kid threatened to murder the parents and stuff like this.
Right.
And Natalia replied,
I don't blame her if they're accusing her of being an addict.
Yeah, but like, it's not true at all. So they were charged with child neglect.
Wait, hold on. So the parents were charged?
Charged with child neglect.
And is this only then they came up with the story that she's 33?
Yes. Yeah.
Fuck off. That's brilliant. Yeah. This is their defence.
Yes, absolutely. And then, why did they want to get rid of you so badly? A 6 or 7-year-old child living in an apartment alone for a year. That's just not believable to me, he says. I guess it comes down to whether or not you're an evil psychopath demon child that's come here to murder everybody. The Ukrainian female of an indeterminate age says she just wants people to hear my side. There's now a gag order on the case. And
so the opposite happened of what you wanted.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. So it's still, they haven't decided what's going to happen yet. But
that's fascinating. That's this week, is it?
That's just this week. In the last week or two. And
now, there is a film.
The Orphan. They actually quote it. When I looked into some further research in relation to it, they mentioned the film that was actually the exact plot.
Yeah.
From the film The Orphan, which was out like 2 years previous or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Oh. It's crazy. Who do you believe in that circumstance, you know?
Yeah.
Immediately you probably start thinking crazy.
Thank God the parents hadn't watched, like, Saving Private Ryan or whatever. I think my daughter is a D-Day fan.
No, but like seriously, like it's insane. And what was I going to say there was one of the important factors is that if you see the pictures, and in fairness to the parents, we can't show you the pictures obviously. For those watching on camera, I didn't print them off because I didn't think we'd be looking at you tonight. But she does look a lot older than 6. Like,
does she?
Oh, she looks like 33. Like, so right. They probably just have some mad looking thing.
But the Ukraine, of course, is where Chernobyl happened.
It is.
So it could be a deformity, a birth defect that's made her look old or whatever.
Quite possibly.
This girl has had no fucking luck. If it's a 6-year-old girl, she's born in the place where the worst nuclear radiation release in the world has ever happened. If her story is true, the radiation in I just watched the show. The radiation in Chernobyl was more than 300 times the atomic bomb.
Really?
In Hiroshima. Now I'm sure there are more.
Hiroshima, yeah. You
say Hiroshima, okay. 3,000 times more, and they sent Russian men to push the boulders back into the reactor. But anyway, then if her story is true, at the age of 6, her parents abandoned her. She's brought over to a new country, and now her new parents have just disowned her. So she's had no luck.
Very little.
as well as looking like an old person.
Yeah. Now she may have no connection whatsoever to
Ryan
Hiroshima or fucking Chernobyl or any of those disasters whatsoever. Just so to clarify that it may not be connected at all. We don't know. But yeah, interesting. But
That's a fascinating
I
story.
thought that was a clever way to put them together and
I think we'll have to definitely follow up that story. Like put a Google alert or something.
find out what happens.
There's a great link there, and you'll be delighted to hear I have a link as well now.
Okay.
So you mentioned that the girl's adopted parents were breaking up, divorcing,
Yes.
and so on.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, excuse me. They were charged with neglect, but they've also got divorced. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a really interesting story about a woman who went out of her way to avoid a divorce. Now, this is not this week. This happened during the summer. But it was such a good story, I couldn't let it pass.
Okay.
I'd love to say Indiana, but I think it's in Texas. If you just give me a few minutes here now.
Yeah, and the sound of the pages moving is not a problem.
It's more realistic. It was in Texas. So a man, a very wealthy man, was going to divorce his wife, and she knew it. So she hired a hitman to kill her husband, so that obviously she didn't want to lose out in the divorce settlement.
Yeah.
But the husband had anticipated this. He thought she was out to kill him, so he had contacted the Texas. They don't call them cops.
Texas Rangers.
Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
And they decided to carry out your favorite thing, sting on the woman. So a neighbor had also contacted the police as well, saying that I think this woman will try to kill her husband. So there was a kind of, I suppose, a corroborating story. And he said that the police said, "How do you know?" And this neighbor says, "Well, she asked me, how would I know a hitman that you could hire, right?" Which sounds stupid.
Is this woman blonde?
I don't know her identity. They kept the identity quiet.
Okay. Sounds bizarre.
It is. It's crazy, but it gets worse. So the Texas Rangers obviously believed this, so they contacted the woman, and she met a Texas Ranger undercover, thinking he was the hitman. She paid him. Well, how much do you think she paid him to kill her husband?
In the States.
Yeah.
$20,000.
I would have thought, yeah, that's what I'd want. She gave him $2,000.
Wow.
So the cop obviously took it, but she wasn't suspicious. Like that a man was prepared to kill someone for $2,000. Yeah.
Maybe they are. Maybe that's the rate. We could be just out of touch. We're off the air.
Maybe
for 18 months.
Maybe. Yeah. It might show something about the attitude to the value of life in America. I don't know. But $2,000 is suspicious.
It is.
But the woman didn't get suspicious anyway, so she paid him. And then to make it realistic, and we can put this picture, I'm sure, up on YouTube after or on the Facebook page.
Oh, is that selective?
It might as well. Looks like it is, yeah. So the Texas police went that one step further. They made up the husband to look dead, and they took a picture of him and sent it to the woman. So anyway, she was convicted. She pled guilty. So they caught her. She got 20 years.
It's a long time for not killing your husband.
Not killing your husband.
Yeah.
But I like the link there. She was trying to avoid divorce. So
it's a pretty weak link. It's a link.
It's a link.
But it's fairly weak. But we'll continue on. It's not a problem.
Well, do you want to talk about that story and interesting up there to you? Like apart from 2000. Are you surprised by the police agreeing to this kind? It's very much like a movie, really.
It is. It sounds like a movie. It sounds like your stereotypical story that you see. Yeah, it does. It does.
It's very unorthodox.
But I think movies affect people a lot, don't they? And they encourage our imagination. You know, so people probably just copy shit out of movies.
Yeah.
And it gets more outrageous.
What movie would you copy to make your life event in your life?
Make an event in my life.
Yeah, if you're going to be saying, "Oh yeah, well this happened to me," what movie would you take?
Falling down.
Really?
Just go and blow everyone away, like.
Right. Yeah. You feel kind of sorry for him.
I know, I'm only joking.
Yeah,
you do feel sorry for him, in fairness, but
it was
a shitty day for him, in fairness.
It's been hard 18 months. Yep.
I don't know.
Michael Douglas has not lost his wife and kids, has he? He's still married
in the film.
In real life,
I think he's still
with her.
Still with Mrs. Jones, yeah. Or Miss Douglas, I suppose that she'd be called now. But I don't know is the honest answer to that question.
Okay.
But it is
I
interesting.
can't remember the question. What was it? Are they still together?
No, would you like... what film would I... If I wanted to...
Oh, you wouldn't... You were joking about falling down, were you?
Oh, yeah, you couldn't say that, because you wouldn't...
You
dream.
just did.
You would,
It's up there forever.
I know, but you wouldn't dream of actually doing that in
Well, so
reality.
you wouldn't be able to get your hands on an automatic weapon.
That's true too. That's true. But yeah, I don't know. Something nice. So you dream of something nice, a peaceful life, like, you know.
I suppose, yeah. I suppose we all do.
We do indeed.
Sorry. Yeah, you're gonna ask me what I'd pick as my movie.
And tell me, Charlie, if it was your situation, what would your choice of movie be?
I'd pick Guilt. Great film. Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Okay. What is he in that film?
Well, he's accused of being a paedophile.
Okay, and why would you want to live that life?
I just feel a man who's been accused of something he didn't do and remorselessly attacked for that for 18 months without cease and no one believing his side of the story. I think that's why I think it says something to me about my life. It's awkward that he's accused of paedophilia, but no connection at all to my life there.
Well, thanks for...
Categorically.
Okay, thanks for sharing that with us. I really don't know what to say. We probably won't be airing this episode, for God's sake. Okay. Yeah, well, thanks for enlightening us with all that kind of stuff.
We can just edit it out. Remember the time.
We used to do editing. Remember we had time for editing. I'm going to say something to you now, a story that I came across. Mukbang. What does that mean to you? Mukbang.
If I had to you want me to randomly associate, I'd imagine one of those, you know, those on Sunday afternoon, the guys on the motorbikes and the muck squirts up into the camera, like it's a cross country riding or whatever. That's what comes into my mind.
Like, you think it's like motorbike racing?
Yeah, with lots of mud.
I suppose in a sense, you're actually correct.
Really?
You're completely wrong. But in a way, I think you're actually correct there, because the mud could be visualized for something that we're going to talk about now in a second. Okay. A would-be YouTube star is filming herself scoffing over 5,500 calories in one sitting in a bid to become famous. Charna, who's 22, will eat anything her 40,000 strong online audience requests, from a Chinese takeaway from 4 to 50 chicken wings. She's quit her full-time job to devote more time to her viral mukbang or eating show videos, which she plans to post twice a week. The videos where hosts binge eat while interacting with their fans were made famous in South Korea. So you can definitely see this starting off in one of those Asian countries, can't you?
Yeah.
People being excited to see other people eat.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
What is 4,500 calories? Like
5,500 calories.
So what?
It'd be double what you eat every day.
Oh, I know, but in terms of a takeaway, would a takeaway be 2,000 calories, like a normal takeaway?
Yeah, probably. Close
so
to it.
Two of those. And then she presumably eats nothing else for the rest of the day then and gets herself sick or whatever.
You don't know. She is a big girl now in the pictures.
Is she? So this is caught on. She's loaded from it.
Yeah, well, she's looking to, like, each video costs her about €100 or £100, and she spent $1,000 so far buying mountains of dishes from fast food joints, but has started to earn money from the videos and says it should become her full-time career.
Oh my God.
Weighing in at 16 stone, 4'11" in China. You know, you can see where you're going there. She said, "I enjoy it and it gives me confidence."
I can see the lad in like Supermax like, oh,
It can become a full-time career move. My ultimate aim is to try and do the 10,000 calorie challenge.
What is the 10,000 calorie challenge?
It's really
in one meal.
In one meal, yeah. Like, you gotta have a goal in life. In fairness to you, Charna, and we wish.
In fairness, we have a previous winner of that competition sitting here at the table today.
Well, there you go. But no, fair play to you, Charna, and you know we all have to have goals in our life. And in fairness, she has something. She's happy, so why judge her?
What age is she? Roughly
22. I know exactly. She's 22.
Okay, that just sounds. I feel very sorry for her, but you know what? The fucker will probably be famous.
She'll be famous
Like,
and
it's
probably
crazy.
die at a relatively young age.
Yeah.
You know. But best of luck, Richard Charna, if that's the life you choose. But I find it fascinating. Fascinating. But yeah, it is interesting. But you know what? I wanted to kind of get back to the whole Korea thing.
What country is this girl from?
She's from England. She's from England. But what the mukbang is the kind of Korean for eating show. So this is how it started. It started in Korea. It's phenomenal. It's a phenomenon over in Korea. But is this because Asian people are generally healthy people
And thin, I would have thought.
and thin? So why has this become famous? And why is this caught on in Korea and these kind of places? And it kind of got me wondering: are they living their eating enjoyment experience by paying someone else to do it for them? And they get the pleasure of the food being eaten, but they don't get any of the calories. It's basically a diet.
people that
It's
are watching
taste
it.
what you think extreme.
Yeah. That's an interesting theory. I'd say we're not too far away from also having that interactive where they can watch the video and get the smell maybe and the taste on their tongue without calories.
Yeah.
But it could be. It's kind of like porn is what you're saying.
It's food porn essentially, yeah.
So you're getting as close to the experience as you can. I don't know. Like, do you think that is what it is? Or is
I
it
think
just people watching it kind of disgusted?
I
I think I'll never be like her. I don't like my body, but
yeah,
I'll never be like her.
I think it could start out like that, but then they might see it as, do you know what? Like, if she's that bad, then surely I'm not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's like an excuse for them. That's worrying. But
It
it's
can
a
work both
fascinating
ways.
story,
It can
yeah.
work both ways. It can. They actually maximise both markets there because they have the people who won't eat it, and the people who will eat it. They've captured a whole audience there. But best of luck to you, Charna.
I'm going to probably sound naive here, but I'm just wondering if you could update me in the last 18 months. I'm guessing there's YouTube channels with the opposite scenario where girls who are bulimic, like,
Can
have a
read
show.
minds.
Yeah. Jeez, that takes me back. But yeah, could girls who have bulimia, like, it has them maybe even not eating the food, but just puking it up on camera. Something that you'd think would be very private.
I haven't seen it. I'll look into it for you, but I genuinely wouldn't be surprised this day and age because the internet caters for everything, whether it's on the normal internet or the dark web or whatever.
So you'd be saying you're going to find something.
You're going to find
Yeah, I
whatever
would
you
agree.
want, I think, to be honest, out there.
Yeah.
You know, that's the reality of it. But staying on the food theme, a man, I saw you looking at this a minute ago, a man sparks outrage after filming himself eating cereal with water. Is he wrong? Now, obviously this is interesting to us personally for a very obvious, for your father, very obvious reason. So that's why it stood out to me initially. But the other point was, like, sparks outrage. Like, what? It's such an exaggeration, isn't it? Like, have you heard about this? Is there people protesting on the streets? You know, what does outrage mean? That somebody put a comment up going, "Oh, that's disgusting."
Yeah.
That's what.
And then gets 3 or 4 likes.
Yeah, and then the news article picks it up as outrage. Like,
I love hearing that they showed up to the camera that it's in total capitals.
Oh, total capitals
yeah.
outrage. Oh, they're shouting
Just in
it,
case
like,
you didn't get it.
Yeah, it's phenomenal what they deem outrage, but
It's interesting because I was looking at crazy stories this week and there were similar ones. Like, I didn't click into them, but it was like a woman, could be something like a woman causes outrage with the pictures she puts of her children, you know, on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
Or there was one like it was in a school in England, a photographer, and he's he's listing his services for taking pictures of the parents' children, and he's basically got a service for airbrushing them. And again, there was the article causes outrage, among parents. Like, you don't have to get the airbrushing, you don't have to pay for it. I know they're making a bigger point that it's, like, that we shouldn't be trying to airbrush our kids, we should love them the way they are. But outrage, like you say, it's probably one or two parents. A parent walking out the door saying, I don't really think he should have done that. I think it's...
Yeah, it's clickbait.
Oh,
Clickbait is really what it is.
I thought that was different.
What?
I thought that was different.
Well, it's the same kind of thing. They want you to press it because when you see, Jesus, what was the outrage? They want you to press the fucking link.
Yeah. Do you know what always gets me? The Lois and Peter Griffin ones. Did they come up for you?
Yeah. Like
I always thought
sexual
those
ones.
was hot. Yeah.
Yeah, they always come up.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Have you ever clicked on one?
No, I don't.
Sure, yeah.
No, I definitely haven't. I definitely haven't.
You never have.
I don't
On any
think so.
kind of those cartoons like Marge Simpson. Or...
No.
Yeah, look, just out of curiosity. Which
I
one
genuinely, I wouldn't be into it.
I know, but neither would
I don't see the point. Like, Jessica Rabbit, maybe, but no, Marge.
There has to be movies of that. Jessica Rabbit, presumably.
I'd say so.
But not even out of curiosity. I mean, some of the shit you've clicked on, you won't click on a cartoon.
Yeah, like, I'm not even watching a cartoon at that point.
Imagine you're so hammered. You let your kids like watch cartoon. You don't see the difference. You just fuck up Family Guy, and it's the Family Guy porn.
That's the
Simpsons
danger.
Porn,
That's the
isn't it?
danger. So you should be careful with your internet and your parental settings.
Well, at least that's one thing those parents in New York don't have to worry about.
Yeah,
She's not 6. They get in trouble like she fucking 33. She
God
older
love
than
them.
us.
God love them. But yeah, so this guy, he basically revealed he eats cereal with water rather than milk. The video shows him digging into a bowl of hoop-shaped cereal doused in water, captioned, "I am a true believer that cereal water is better. The taste of milk conflicts with the taste of cereal, whereas water does not." And it's very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
You're still getting some texture. The water does not ruin the taste of the cereal. So you start getting people abusing him over doing this, and he's getting death threats and all sorts of crazy stuff happening, isn't it? And he said he doesn't actually drink the water afterwards. Not like you might drink the milk afterwards.
Right.
He doesn't do that. It's more for texture rather than...
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, did he get death threats? I'm sure like he got some pleasant comments as well. Like
I
agree with you.
It's unpopular opinion anyway. I don't think nobody's actually threatened to kill him, but...
Okay.
You know?
You're retracting that one.
Yeah, but like, do you know what I mean? It's just I'm trying to be outrageous like the article, which is the point. You know.
How do you feel about that? Like, I'm seeing it's Fruit Loops, or could they not say that because of copyright?
Swampy Fruit Loop water.
Okay. That sounds pretty rank.
Yeah, but this comes only days ago after, and the other article we talked about, mukbang was branded a sexy turn on, so the whole people eating online for others' pleasure is a massive thing in various different ways, shapes and forms. You have a story about the cereal without milk. Scenario.
I do. My father, God rest his soul, when we were young, used to he many odd ways. But one of his oddest was when he wasn't beating on us. He would come into the kitchen in the morning, and he hated the mornings. And he hated lights because they were too bright in his eyes in the morning. So he would eat in the darkness in the kitchen with all these layers wrapped around them. And related to this was my mum, trying to be posh, would take the actual, you know, where you have your plastic 2-litre milk.
Yeah.
But she couldn't put that on the table. Like, she still goes mad if I have guests up or whatever and I put a 2-litre bottle of milk. She'll go to the kitchen sink and decant it into a little fancy jug or whatever. So she had it in a jug.
As you do. Yeah.
And we'd always be used to that. So we would pour from that jug to get milk. But there was another jug, the same colour, and we'd have a squeeze. I don't know if you remember the squeeze came in a little tin, and you concentrated or whatever. So she'd obviously made a lot of orange juice the previous day for us. So Dad came down, and he didn't want to look at the colours because he didn't want the light in his eyes. So he just picked the wrong colour one. Poured orange juice all over his cornflakes. He loved cornflakes. But which wasn't the funny thing, folks. Yeah,
it wasn't the funny thing.
The funny thing was that my father insisted that Kellogg's were not going to get one up on him. Those sly fucking multinationals. So he sat there at the table and spited Kellogg's, because the obvious thing you'd do would be you just go to the sink, or you curse, you go to the sink, you pour your cereal out and start again. But fair fucks to my father, if he was in The Great Escape, that movie would have been an hour long, not 3 hours, because he sat there and he ate every drop of it. And Kellogg's never got their second bowl.
He'll always have that one up on Kellogg's. Do you know what I mean? They didn't screw him over.
They didn't. No.
But I remember him saying that it was like that they designed the jugs the way they were or something. Isn't that right? That
Yes.
Kellogg's are in cahoots with the fucking pottery company or something to make them.
There was
something.
No, the milk company.
It was the milk company.
Yeah. So that somehow that they manipulated my father into this. And of course, the great thing about this is you heard this story, and then you decided to prank my father, if you remember.
Yeah, I do.
So you decided to ring him. Can you remember that? And
I do.
Tell us a little bit about that prank.
Did I ring pretending to be a solicitor? Was that what it was? Was that what it was? Did I ring pretending to be a solicitor?
No, you pretended you were in marketing from Weetabix. And you specified Weetabix. Yeah. Can you remember that?
No, and what happened there? What was
So
I
you
saying?
rang him, it was late at night, and he answered, hello, like this. So you were saying, well, I'm just working here late in the office and whatever, and I'm in Weetabix, and we're going through old complaints.
Yeah.
So you managed...
There was definitely a legal aspect to it, though, I thought.
I don't think so. I think it was you were... No, there was a different thing, a solicitor. That was a different call. That was the one he hung up on, yeah.
All right, okay.
No, this one was you were just going through like files, old complaints in the office, and you managed to convince him that he'd sent you a complaint. And of course, you deliberately were saying it was Weetabix, even though it was Kellogg's.
Yeah.
And you were like just going through this, and you were wondering, you were just contacting to see if his complaint had been dealt with.
I remember now, and he recounted the actual story to us.
Yes, he did.
We must.
And then you convinced he actually did admit he sent the letter, which of course he never did, complaining.
Yeah, no, he didn't, but we'd convinced him that he had.
You did, yeah.
That was brilliant. Actually, we must find that prank call because it's definitely somewhere.
Because then you gave him a reward. Do you remember? And this was the priceless thing about it. You asked him, "Do you have any children?"
Oh yeah. And he said no. He totally disowned you. That was actually one of the first episodes of Midnight in Baghdad. That was, wasn't it?
Fucking hell! It was Midnight Express.
Midnight Express, our kind of prototype show, as you will.
Anyway,
yeah, interesting. That was funny. Good moments.
Well, I have no stories about cereals, so I'm gonna have to do a bit of an odd segue.
Serial killers, maybe?
Oh, good, yeah. No, I have something about an African American, but he actually isn't a serial killer.
Okay.
No, I don't know anything about a serial killer. I'm gonna go for this one because this probably interests you, and it's true, and it's so strange. There's a place called Porthcawl in Wales. And you know these toilets, I actually have never gone into one, I'm going to be honest with you, because they do freak me out. I remember seeing them in France when I was younger as well. The self-cleaning toilets, you know,
yes.
Where you pay 50 cents or whatever. You go in, you do the toilet, and it kind of washes itself down completely.
Yeah.
Well, Porthcawl in Wales are introducing anti-sex toilets. So they're very conscious that people are going into these toilets and having sex for the thrill or whatever, or they might meet in a nightclub and on the way home.
They're like a little portaloo type of thing.
Yeah, so they're they're permanent ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what I mean? They be in a town square.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a slidey door. They're very futuristic. So they are introducing anti-sex toilets because they want to stop antisocial behaviour. So the first question I have is antisocial behaviour. Like, how is public sex, which is indecency or exposure or whatever it is, would you actually call it antisocial?
I think they're trying to be somewhat polite in relation to it. It's definitely not social behaviour.
I would have thought it's a prime example of social behaviour.
The act itself is, but not in the public place.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm do can you see the difference there?
I do.
So
yeah.
in that respect, it's antisocial, and I think they're just being somewhat polite in relation to it.
Okay. You don't have an issue with them calling it. Okay. So anyway, what is the sex things, would you imagine? Like, how can a toilet be anti-sex? So yeah. I know you didn't obviously hear about this story.
No, I haven't heard about this story,
yeah,
but I do have a toilet story though.
Brilliant.
2 of them actually, which is good.
A drink there. Relax.
I will. I am perfectly relaxed.
So tell me what you think would make a toilet anti-sex.
Well, the first thing you want to think about is having spikes. Spikes on the wall and stuff like that, so you can't lean against it.
Oh, I thought you were thinking like the dildos on the wall that you get the women bend over.
No.
I think that we encouraging it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is anti.
And you make the spike shape like that, or like this.
No, but you put in spikes to stop people having a surface to press themselves against.
Okay.
maybe an alarm system, pressure plates. If somebody
How would you have an alarm system?
like if two people go into the cubicle.
Go on, you're on the right track now. You're very close.
Yeah, two people go into the cubicle will detect it's too heavy for one person.
Well done. There's one of them.
Is that really one of them?
Yes. Now, do you have a comment on who automatically reacted to that in a very negative way?
Fat women.
And me too. Men also did. Because they made a very good point. They said
fat men as well. Obviously,
two people go in.
Yeah.
So they were saying like this person had tweeted like I weigh as much as 2 children. So it was a very fair point.
Yeah.
You know that if it's going by weight to try to detect the number of people going in,
yeah,
that
is
is
very
much and also quite discriminatory against fat people because a fat person now would be too scared to use the toilet because of what happens when you. Well, yeah, I'd be interested to see if you can figure out what is what happens to the toilet. But anyway, you can imagine a fat person would now hold on to the toilet, and
it goes transparent.
And we'll come to that in a second.
Oh,
We're
right.
having a problem for. You're actually doing very good. So what other issues are there that make
some say I should be a detective?
Toilet. Yeah, heard it here first and last, folks. What other anti-sex stuff? So you're right with the weight one.
As I said, the walls, the screens going transparent.
Well, we come to what happens, yeah. But what other measures would they have to detect if there was sex in the toilet?
All right. Movement. Vibration.
Yes, very good. Sensor movements to stop if there's any bumps or any violent kind of movement.
2 out of 2, folks.
So, well, you got the first one wrong, but yeah.
I got the first one right.
The one before the weight. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, but we're only starting
anyway, so you dealt with the weight sensitive one really well. So how would the violent movement one be a problem?
But obviously, if people were engaged in intercourse, there's going to be some trust.
I know, yeah. But what if what's the flaw in that one? Like you pointed out the flaw on the weight.
Like Parkinson's.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. Like a Parkinson's person trying to reach for the toilet roll is going to set off all the sensors. The cops arrive and you've just got a poor guy who can't even hold the toilet roll.
They're on the right track, but there's a bit of fine tuning that's needed.
A lot. And I think if you watch the show, I think heed some our advice because we've pointed out it there for free.
Yeah.
So now, next bit of it, what will happen when someone's...
It goes transparent. I've told you.
Yeah, you're right. The door opens, yeah. So that, do you know the doors? The big, long, wide door. So yeah, the door opens. And what else? Other stuff happens as well. It's actually quite funny. Yeah, I do it. I'd say a lot of people do it just for the...
Like, you get lights flashing on you and music and shit. Like,
yes, an alarm goes off. Yeah. And jets of water.
I was going to say water starts spraying at you.
Now, if that doesn't sound like
that's
porn,
it's like that is
I can see the bird rubbing it like it's oil in a porno, or like 9.5 fucking weeks. That is exactly what it is. How is that going to deter it?
Yeah, it could encourage it.
So I went to Porthcawl last week.
Where is this again?
Porthcawl in Wales.
Wow.
Only in fucking Wales.
That is brilliant. I
have one final point about it.
Yeah.
There is another anti-sex device. There is a restricted time limit for which you can be in the toilet.
Okay. And how did they get you out?
Then the system goes off. So the doors open, the alarm, and the jets of water.
Right, okay.
So it's another.
But what if you have the runs or something?
Exactly. It's ridiculous. So the 3 things they have are totally flawed. Like the time limit. One of my children goes into the toilet, and before she's even turned on the light, she's like, "Dad, I done a poo."
Yeah.
I'm the exact opposite. I'm like, I take my time. I'm so scared because I got piles a few times. And I remember my mum saying, "You push too hard. You're trying to be too quick." So I take ages.
Yeah, but also you've got the other problem. You can take too quick and you can take too fucking long because your body, your ass is not meant to be in that position. Like when we
your ass might be.
No, but genuinely, a human's ass. The actual proper way to poo is to squat.
We want to be respectful to all sexualities here.
You know, but for male and females, the natural position is when the back is straight and you can have your tubing and shit straight inside you. Is squatting, and some I think of the Asian countries have toilets where you squat to Fessick. What do you to take
Defecate.
Defecate.
Fessick is brilliant.
Fessick.
Sounds like something out of
Defecate.
a Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Fucking Fessick.
But that's what it is. So you're actually sitting it on too long, which could be actually causing the piles.
Right.
Because you're in an unnatural position. Your ass is falling out of itself.
But I don't sit in it. I haven't had piles in a while, so it must be working. But yeah, no, what I mean is I'm not rushing it anymore. I literally, I don't even push. So it just comes.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but I think it's hygienic. But it's really interesting what you're saying. So you got to get it's all about balance. I think if we have to take a theme for the show
absolutely it is.
tonight, it's balance.
So go on.
No, you go. No, I insist. I just thought that was a really interesting story.
It sure was. It sure was.
I'd love to know if it's going to be success or failure. By the way, it costs 170 grand for each toilet for the council to install.
Wow. It's a lot of money. A lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said it earlier on, but it just popped back into my head for some reason. Happy birthday, Norman. I know we did wish you happy birthday earlier on, but I was saying that it was amazing that it was so like every time it's your birthday you have famous people that have the same birthday as you, and it's not really that crazy because there's 17.7 million people's birthdays every day. So you share your birthday with 17.7 million other people. So there's bound to be famous people there.
Yeah. Who do you share your birthday?
I can't even remember. But I just thought I'd go back to that because it was an interesting one. But following on from your toilet, interesting stuff about the toilet. I have 2 stories about toilets, would you believe?
Okay, great.
Crazy stuff. Gender neutral jacks put in school. Now, you can't see, folks, but there's a picture here of a male, the typical male you'd see on the door of the toilet, a female wearing the skirt or the dress, and then a third person that seems to be wearing a dress that's been ripped. So basically it's half a dress.
Half a dress and half trousers, I think.
Yeah, half a dress and half trousers. But it just, first of all, it just looks like it's been, her skirt has been ripped or damaged.
Yeah.
Which would lead you to think of potentially horrific circumstances. But that's not really the main bit I wanted to focus on. The main part I want to focus on is one of the country's newest secondary schools is to have gender-neutral toilets fitted on each of its 3 floors. The Limerick Educate Together Secondary School will fit the facilities for students who do not identify as either male or female ahead of its opening in September 2021. What do you think of this?
I think it's a bit unfair. Like, if a gender-neutral person then wants to go to the toilet, they have to go to Limerick. It's fucking mental.
Well, no, they don't have to go to Limerick. This is just for the people who happen to already be in Limerick and the people who happen to attend this school.
Yeah, so you're asking what do I think of it? I think it's. I know you're going to say it's a nonsense idea. I'm right, haven't I? But I do think it's a really good idea.
I'm not saying that.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's a step in the right direction. So if I'm identifying as a male, I can go into it as well. Identifying as a female, I can go into it. Or if I'm identifying as neither, I can go into it. So it's like a unisex. Yeah, okay.
I would like to think of it as a unisex toilet, yes.
Well, this is great. Universities have had it in for a while now. So it's great that secondary schools are doing it. The only problem is, of course, you have most kids in secondary school are under 18. So they can't change their sex. Now, maybe they can identify, I suppose, as any gender.
Well, that's the whole point. It's about identifying. It's not about legally recognised or anything like that.
So what do you think about this whole gender fluidity thing? Do you think people should be allowed to identify as any gender they want?
Yeah, like...
That's great, thanks.
I do get it. To a point. I don't understand some of it. It just... I just can't fathom it. I can understand that some people a male may identify as a female may identify as a male. I completely get that. I can understand why that would happen. But this thing of changing it on a daily basis or regular basis, I don't really get. I don't understand that.
Can you explain that a little bit?
So, there might be a person who will on one day identify as a male and the next day will identify as a female. And that could even change on an hourly basis. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a little bit too far. And I just wonder how... It's great that people are being facilitated, but it could lead to more problems, could it, in schools?
Yeah, I mean, because I think about it, you all want to belong to a group. You in school, even you now, like think of the groups you belong to that you're proud of belonging to. So you want to belong to a group, and the problem is if you're gender neutral, it's not really a group at the moment anyway. So it feels like you won't, I think your identity won't form properly. And yet at the same time, I totally agree with this. I think it's fantastic. The idea of gender and sex being separated. So how you identify as opposed to what your physical organs are. I think that's brilliant. I think I'm very happy to be living in a world where that's not an issue. It's an issue, but where people are being respected for it. Yeah.
But you don't think it'll be a problem for the kids?
I do think it will be, yeah. But everything is a problem. Like the first blacks who fought for civil rights get lynched and get beaten up. But they started the movement. It's always going to be, be the same with, I suppose, the
So
first...
would you say that we should continue on with this path? That it's
yes,
we push through, we push, we keep coming up with these things,
and iron out the
and a lot of
mistakes as we need
society, and I think a lot of us even are guilty of saying sometimes, "Oh my God, it's gone too PC now. What's happening?" I think we're all guilty of saying that in some respect about any kind of various different topic. So how much do you take is what I'm asking you.
I don't think there's anything too PC about that. I think it's excellent. It's gender neutral anyway.
Or would it not be better to just have toilets? And it's not male, female, or fluid.
That's how I would identify that.
But they have three different types of toilets.
But those pictures have always been there, I suppose. But I get what you're saying, but I think the school is kind of doing it. They're doing it in a way, I think, explicitly to.
So you don't think, looking at this story, that there's three different toilets they can go into? Do the boys go to the boys, girls go to the girls?
I would have thought that, to be honest, based on that picture.
If you want, there's a third place you can go.
Yeah.
Depending on what you want. For yourself, like, I'm not saying anything else. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Or do you think that all their toilets just anyone can go in?
I think they're all just sit down toilets, are they? Yeah. If I was in a wheelchair, I'd be pretty pissed off right now.
But that's how it's going. People aren't in photographs and fucking, do you know what I mean? And they get pissed off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if the wheelchair picture isn't up there, wheelchair people get pissed off over not having their photo.
And then there'll be someone else giving out, yeah.
Yeah, it's just...
if I was African American, I'd be thinking, am I not allowed to go into the toilet? Because as you can see, it's all white people in the picture.
And I know what you're trying to say is, like, you're actually trying to be funny, but in a way you're actually correct.
Yeah.
You're genuine. Somebody would say that. I look at that and I don't identify a white man versus a black man. But you can understand why people would be like, oh, why isn't he black?
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting. I'm on a WhatsApp group where the chap will occasionally check, are you able to play football tonight? We need the numbers. And he basically asked, it was before one of the Ireland matches 2 or 3 weeks ago, or that was on a Tuesday. And he said, look, just thumbs up if you can make it on Tuesday, thumbs down if you're going to be watching the match. So I did a thumbs up. But you know the way the thumbs up...
Like, could he not have just left it as... Just let me know, and then if you want
I know, but he specified the thumbs up. I can show you.
It seems like a very controlling group. But go on.
It's interesting that you should say that. But anyway, I put the thumbs up. Now, the default position of the thumbs up is kind of like a Caucasian thumb, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the first one on the list.
It's actually the second one. Believe it or not.
What's the first one?
It's more white than us.
Okay.
But anyway, I know you don't believe that. You'll check it out in a sec, but you'll be right. So there's 5 settings. No, I'll be right. But I had obviously done an African American thumb up at one point. So it's my now default position.
For what reason?
I'd say my hand slipped as I was doing it probably.
Okay.
And for 18 months.
But we're glad to have you back now. You see, isn't it better that it's used for this than giving your story, like I said? Gotta trust me, man. But go on, continue on.
What was I even talking about?
See, that's our thing now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you wanted to give a whole fucking documentary on what happened to you. No, it's mythos.
That's true. What was he talking? Oh yeah, the thumbs up. So mine comes up now automatically as an African American thumb. Alright, so I just clicked thumbs up that I was going, and the minute it went onto the group, I saw that it was a black skinned thumb. And I started panicking because one of the players on the team is mixed race. I've never asked him about it. I've had him in my car and everything. And
okay, that's interesting.
I gave him a lift.
Okay.
Just in case my tire broke. So
please continue. Tell us your story.
So he's in the group, and the minute I sent the the thing, I started panicking and I was like, will I delete it? So I quickly checked if anyone had seen it. But it's about 30 in the group, so obviously a couple of lads already seen it, so I couldn't delete the message. So I had to leave it as is. Right? And I was just panicking. I was overly politically correct. I was afraid, right, the guy, I'm not going to name him, and he's a lovely guy, but he's going to see it and think I'm being racist, right? So then a couple of lads thumbed up and thumbed down. I was waiting for your man to put his thumb up or thumb down. And then I was just thinking, oh fuck, now he's definitely seen.
But what if he put up a white one or whatever? Like, do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I was kind of fantasizing. He'll put up a white one, and then it'll be a joke between us, and it'll be totally fine.
But would he not just put up a white one anyway? Normally,
that's a good question.
Like, why wouldn't?
If I was black, would I change my?
Would you bother your hole going in to change your finger to a thumbs up? Black
Probably.
thumbs up.
Yeah, probably.
Would you?
I think that's a really good question.
But why is there a need if we're all the same?
Yeah, but it's not that there's a need, there's a want. Obviously, people want to have the option.
It's a good answer to the question. Colour. That's a good answer to the question.
I think that's a brilliant question you've asked. Would an Irish African American go to the trouble of changing the skin tone on all the emojis? Mm. But anyway, your man never replied to the group. He never replied thumbs up or thumb down.
And he was never seen again.
Well, he doesn't play regularly with us.
The 18 months. No, like has he been back since?
No. But he's an infrequent guy. You know the way, like...
Keep telling yourself that, so you're basically scared away.
I don't want to say, often, like, if you don't turn up for work, you don't turn up for football all that often. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. You know, not notorious for being hardworking.
So you expect him to be back at some point?
Yes. And I'm by this stage, I was fine. I'm not worried about
but you're
so long.
But is he coming back because he's over it, or is he coming back because it's just circumstance?
He doesn't often come.
Okay, so you don't think that
I'm not worried now. But what made it worse was loads of people texted like the up and thumb down thumb. But then my brother, who's in the group, texted the down thumb in the African American skin tone.
Your brother did.
My brother. Now,
so now it's a family affair.
Well, he was obviously doing it as a joke, replying to me. He doesn't play all that often, and my understanding is he doesn't know that there's an African American on the WhatsApp group, which got me over fucking analysing it. Do I text him and then make him sweat over it? Does he try to?
So he doesn't know that there might be an African American.
He does now. I told him,
but at the time he wouldn't have.
I don't think he would have. I don't think the two of them would have ever played at the same time together.
You might kind of seen his profile pictures or something.
In a massive big group, would you?
Does the guy have an atypical African American name?
No.
So, all right. So yeah, okay. The surname? I
don't know.
Okay, so it's not in the WhatsApp group. Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, go on. What happened?
Well, that's it. I just overanalyzed.
Nothing that happened ever again.
No, nothing happened.
But isn't it terrible that you have to think like that?
That's my point.
It drives me mad. I had the same. I was recently on holidays, and you're in the pool, the kiddies pool, with your own children, with your own children playing and messing or whatever, and then you have all these other random kids coming over to you, talking to you. Some don't even speak English.
Talking to you,
yeah,
or to your kids.
To me, and obviously my kid, they start playing more, but they start talking to you, and then they're trying to splash you and play with you, and you just feel so awkward, because like I should be able to just play and be nice to the kid. Do you know what I mean? But you're obviously thinking, what does other people think it is? Or like, am I going to be accused of something? And the world has gone crazy.
You're very naive to even be talking to the kids.
I know, but there's a part of me that's like, I'm not doing nothing wrong, so like we need to take a step back here and say,
you're
relax.
Not the child that Jimmy Savile helped milk a cow.
No, that's not me. That's a good sketch actually.
Yeah,
but do you know what I mean? So there's a part of me that's like, this is weird, but it shouldn't be weird.
You're overanalyzing it.
Yeah, am I over? So just relax, Brian, and everything's okay. You're just
totally.
Yeah, relax, Goldie, whoever. Well, our faces are there now, P. Do you know what I mean? So, do you know what I mean? I there should be no issue with it. But funnily enough, I was at a party on Sunday.
Yeah, my release. You don't invite me.
I was at a party in the Jump Zone. It was an 8-year-old's birthday party.
How did you wangle?
No, I was, and
so that girl who's 6 poses as, or that girl who's 33 poses 6-year-old. You're posing as
I'm
an
posing as an
8-year-old.
8-year-old. No,
Brilliant.
I like to joke, but no, my son was attending the party. I really dropped him off, and I left him there. I went off and did. I actually waited in the car park, to be honest with you, and watched some Netflix.
It gets worse.
I waited in the car park, yeah.
So you could watch all the kids.
No, I was watching Netflix.
This is revelatory. Fucking revelatory. It's like
I can see what you're
documentary.
I can see what you're thinking now. I can doctor all these words, but no,
I don't need to doctor anything. Literally just
no. I was
put
in the
it
car
together.
park just waiting for my son to come out of the party. And there was no point in me going home. But by the time I got home, I had to come back, kind of thing. So
Can I just get rid of the word back there?
no, but
By the
genuinely,
time I come home, I would have to come.
I would have to come back. Yeah. So
I delete back.
okay.
I know, yeah.
Anyway,
Stayed in the car.
Yeah, so it came to the time to collect them. So I went in. It was a few minutes ago. I said, I'll go to the loo. I went into the loo, and of course, I go in, and there's only 2 fucking toilets, basically free. So I went up,
The little kid.
and there's a little kid, yeah, and there's a little kid on the right hand side having a piss. I'm like, for fuck's sake, this is awkward now. Yeah. And it shouldn't be. Do you know what I mean? And then I walked in, and I actually purposely turned at an angle, so even if he looked to the left, he wouldn't have seen anything. So there was no.
What was he this side?
No, but like, I turned purposely, so even if he looked, like there's no way I could be accused of looking at him or him looking at me. I kind of turned
So you're overly
away.
paranoid about it.
Yeah, and he never looked up at my face at all, right?
So you could have got away with it.
No. So the point is, I've obviously been on holidays. I've obviously been on holidays.
So you look quite
So,
dark.
yeah, because I'm tan now.
Suspected as a blackmail.
No, the point I'm trying to make it at is that I look so tanned. So I would have thought that his next question, the fact that I was tanned would have prompted the question, but it didn't.
What question do you expect an 8-year-old to ask you about your tan?
No, you're not listening to me.
What question were you expecting?
I wasn't expecting any question. But if there was a question to be expected, it wouldn't be the question I got asked if he hadn't have looked at me. So he didn't look at me, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So he didn't know that I'd tanned, right? And he turns around to me and he says...
Tanned everywhere.
Right? He says, where did you go on holidays? And I thought to myself, how does this little fucker know that I was on holidays? Because I know he didn't look at me when I came in. So he couldn't have known I was tanned. So obviously this is just a kid in his natural habitat. Asking anyone who walked in, his next question was always going to be, where did you go on your holidays? And I said, Lanzarote. And he says, I went to Italy, he says. And I was like, oh, very nice. And then that's it.
Right.
But it was a weird exchange.
So you're suggesting that this kid's first question to every person he meets is where'd you go on holidays?
Well, the fact of the matter is, I would, if I had to come in and he looked at me and I said, oh, hey, and then we went to have a piss, you might say to somebody, oh, were you on holidays? Because you've looked at me and you noticed I might have a bit of a tan. He didn't look at me, so there was no reason for him to be prompted to the fact that I was on holiday. So it was very strange for him to ask that question in October.
Well,
November even.
That's true. You claimed, though, you turned away from him.
Yeah.
So like, you could have been staring and wanking all over the back and you wouldn't have known.
Well,
Your head would be
I don't
facing
think you
this
need
way.
to talk about things like that, but it was just an unusual situation. It was an unusual situation, and we shouldn't be made feel uncomfortable in them.
Wait a sec. So you did or didn't feel uncomfortable?
I did, yeah. Just the fact that there was a kid even there before I even opened my mouth. No, but before I even opened my fucking mouth to him, like, I just was like, this feels wrong. I don't know why you think that's so funny. No, but do you know what I mean? Like, we should be able to just go in and have a piss without feeling awkward in things. And I don't. Do you get that?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I bring my kids swimming a lot, and I'm really paranoid. You know, like I don't want to look at a little kid and say she's cute or even think that.
Yeah.
You feel.
But you should. It's perfectly normal. It's just the world has gone mad.
But I can see why.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
we're sticking with the toilet theme there. That's another few toilet stories. I'm
Yeah.
going to go with one more.
Okay.
Um,
Because I had a good link there, but don't worry.
Centre Parks trans battle. First big firm to ban non-op toilet access. So this is completely different from the article where the school is creating a gender fluid facility.
It's the opposite, is it?
This is the opposite. They're saying they are actually actively banning people unless they have had the operation.
Wow.
And they believe that they're complying with the Equality Act, that if they're in the period between transforming, I suppose is the right word to use, from a male to female or female to male, whatever the case might be, they're entitled to use these private facilities. So they are actually providing facilities for them.
Oh, okay. And it's not a disabled toilet.
No. And it's not a male and it's not a female. But they won't allow a male who's transitioning to a female go into the female bathroom until the operation is done.
I would have no problem with that. I think they're totally right. Would you not?
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's basically a man who is still physically a man, but is identifying as a woman, but hasn't had operations yet.
Yeah.
I think they're totally right. I can't believe, like, are you saying other parks allow men who identify themselves as women?
Well, I think this
in?
is the question that everywhere is asking
Okay,
themselves.
so this is
and
just
nobody,
the first
to actually
legal-
come out and probably make an actual decision on it.
Okay.
Because it's very new territory for businesses, for governments, even for, as we saw, schools. It's not that different.
easy,
The people being that way or transgender or whatever is new. It's just we're newly starting
handling.
handling.
I think
and accept
governments,
it.
though, you mentioned they have to lead the way. They have to make government buildings. But again, I'd agree with you. I don't want them doing this like all different options. Just all toilets should be used.
If we're all equal, we're all equal.
Yeah.
You know, why is there male and female football teams?
Well, that's a different question, I suppose. But I get where you're coming from.
Do you know what I'm saying?
So
Like,
just have unisex toilets with no issues. You know, if we could afford them, have every toilet basically be a disabled toilet and just not identified as abled and disabled kind of thing as well. In an ideal world, I know those toilets are twice the size legally or whatever the main one.
Yeah, well, that's to facilitate people that might be using equipment.
Yeah,
and
totally.
chairs and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
And,
So you do have to have.
And I bring my kids to the disabled toilet. Like I don't want to be bringing them in now at the age they are into the male toilets. You know, so we just wait for the disabled.
And I suppose you're disabled at that particular time because you have kids hanging out of you, and
Yeah.
there is an argument, I suppose,
But
there, and I don't mean that
toilet always has a
lightly. I
change
mean
in
that
it.
you could argue that you have a special need, I suppose, rather than a disability.
Actually,
Your
it's
special need is
interesting.
you need more space because you've got 2 kids.
Great segue here. I didn't note this down because I didn't think it was interesting enough. But one of the stories this week is there was a letter into one of the national newspapers in England complaining about the disabled spaces and the family spaces in supermarkets and department stores. You know the way they're the nearest to the door. For obvious reason, if you've got a family, you don't want the kid to be exposed to running out under a car or whatever. So it's it's near enough, and the disabled one is near enough. So a guy wrote to the newspaper saying that if you're a breeder, so if you've got kids, you're used to running after them, you've bred healthy children, so you're fit. So you should not need to be the nearest to the to the entrance doors of the department. He was saying that these spaces should be reserved for the richest customers, right? And his argument was the richest customers buy the most shit in the shop, so they have the most difficulty bringing the goods out of the shop. So they should be allowed to have the disabled space, for want of a better word. It should be reserved for the wealthy. Now, I don't know, was he being satirical? Was he just mocking the whole idea of having a family space, you know, which isn't used by families, it's used by everyone. But I thought it was an interesting approach to it, just while you were talking about...
No, it definitely is. And did they go into any detail as to how they would police that?
Well, no, this was just a randomer like you or me writing a letter into the newspaper.
Yeah, but did he have it? Like, did he explain how that would happen?
No.
Like, how would we know who was rich enough
That's a good question.
to park in that particular spot? Would you have to have a certain type of car?
He doesn't say that at all. Okay. But again, I do think he was being satirical.
Okay, very interesting.
But I think he's making a point that these are ridiculous. That we should let families and disabled people be necessarily nearest the shop. Now, I don't agree with it. I think they should be, but I think he was mocking that in a smart way.
Yeah, I fully understand what you're saying.
Do you know now?
I just wanted to know if he had a method to do it.
Do you know that people with an intellectual disability are allowed now to use the traditional disabled spaces? So they're not physically disabled. Does that make sense? So if I had Asperger's syndrome, I'm now allowed to park in a disabled space, whereas up to now you weren't allowed.
You had to have a physical disability.
To be physical, yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. No.
Right.
No.
And what do you think? Do you think that's fair enough, or? I mean, physically.
I don't know. Like, it depends. There's like intellectual disabilities vary from people not being able to talk, never mind drive a vehicle, to people who lead everyday normal lives.
Mm. You could say the same about a physical disability though as well. There's like people that are
but for them to actually walk or roll or whatever mode of transport they're using to get from A to B is going to be longer. So therefore, you're actually physically helping them.
Yes, but what I mean is,
like,
I could have lost an ear.
Why would a person with Asperger's, for example, and I don't know, and I apologise, I might be a little bit ignorant to this topic, but my vision of Asperger's is, and I understand there might be people that can't lead normal lives, but majority of them I think do lead healthy, normal lives with jobs and get married and have children and whatever. So that's my vision. Is kind of, I suppose, the best of the Asperger's, but is what I mean. So why should they have to get special spots if is it just a pain in the arse for them to have to walk? Like,
well, I just use Asperger's as a specific example. Anyone with an intellectual disability is now entitled.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's too broad.
I agree.
Saying that anyone with an intellectual disability can park there is too broad because you've got people who are you wouldn't notice there was an issue.
Yeah. But you could say the same about a physical disability. If I've lost an ear...
I don't think that counts.
Oh, does it not? Okay, sorry. I thought that was a disability. Sorry.
Like a part of your ear?
Let's say I had lost a full ear.
Well, if you've lost... I suppose
a limb there.
I suppose the best way to put it to you, Charlie, would be to say, if you've lost an ability or sense, so if by losing that ear, your hearing has been impacted, well then yes, you'd have a disability. But if something happened to your ear, but your hearing was still... normal levels or 100% or whatever. I'm speculating.
Oh, no,
I'm speculating, and I think that would make more sense. Because people get tops of their ear cut off.
I know, but
so what?
But I'm just agreeing with you in that you're pointing out that the intellectual disability doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. It's too broad. I'm arguing that I agree with you, and that the physical disabilities are probably too broad as well. Like, should it be just people in a wheelchair or with mobility issues?
But I think that's assessed, isn't it? Because people with physical disabilities, they'll have like car stickers and stuff like that they can identify as having disabilities. Because otherwise, how does the
you go to the doctor? My kid goes to the doctor and get a sticker from Disney. You go to the doctor, he puts you in a wheelchair.
Now, you know what I'm trying to say, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
otherwise, I didn't know though that if you're speculating here.
No, I know this for a fact. There's disability stickers that you put on cars. So that. When you rock up to the
you say rock?
Yeah, like when you arrive. I mean that in the normal sense of the word. But when you arrive to your parking spot and you park, the sticker's already on it, or you might have a card that you put on the dash, so people know, or park wardens, or not park wardens, like traffic wardens, whatever. I suppose park wardens do.
Yeah. Someone could be trying to poach your cars.
No, that's
dog
somebody
in the car they're trying to poach.
Yeah, otherwise how do they know whether to clamp it or not, is what I'm trying to say.
So, is the disability sticker a wheelchair, yeah?
I believe so, but I'm not entirely sure.
Alright. Okay. See, I didn't know how you define a physical... I thought...
So they'd have those stickers issued to them by certain doctors or government branches. Do you know what I mean?
Right. So if I lose an ear, I don't get that.
Exactly. That's where I'm going.
See, I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
So someone tells you, basically... So you can't identify as disabled then?
No, you can't, but that's probably the next thing that's coming, isn't it?
Well, you sent me the picture.
Somebody wants to identify as
French,
and they were Russian or something like that, wasn't it? Or
well,
African
they're
or
African,
something.
yeah. So they clearly wanted to leave the African country.
And they just want to say, well, why can't I identify as someone else? And they're right. Why shouldn't they?
On that point, can I?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we're
so
away.
There's a man.
We're a bit short on time, but
okay. There's a man who got it. You know the way you can get your DNA tested, and it will one of the things will come up in that test.
I heard the story.
Is your ethnicity. So he has 4% African DNA, and he wants to identify as a black man now. So his name is Ralph Taylor. So he's kind of got a black name. Would you agree, Ralph?
Well, I first think of Wreck-It Ralph, who's a cartoon character, and he's a white monkey. He's basically... Oh, that's Donkey Kong, isn't it? What's Wreck-It Ralph? What's Wreck-It Ralph?
I want to fucking open my mouth.
I'm thinking of Donkey Kong. Sorry.
Didn't you send me the link where two broadcasters, a white woman and an African American man, were watching a cute video from the zoo, and the African American, the Caucasian broadcaster says he reminds me. He looks a little bit like you.
Yeah.
And like it was a monkey or a chimpanzee.
Taking a picture of a gorilla or something. Yeah.
And
she had to apologise then.
She had to apologise. I'm surprised she didn't lose her job.
Yeah, but no, I haven't said anything remotely like that. What I'm getting confused between is I think Wreck-It Ralph is kind of a knockoff of Donkey Kong.
Right.
Or Rampage or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. It's just I had an issue, like...
But Donkey Kong is a white monkey. He is, though. Like,
okay. I'm not going to respond to that no matter what you say.
No,
I'm just trying to say,
yeah, so I'm not being in any way...
I'm not confirming or denying it. I'm just... walking away.
It shouldn't be funny. Maybe we're just excited to be back on the show, guys.
I don't think there's anything funny about that.
No, it shouldn't be funny whatsoever. So what else have you got for us there, Charlie?
Yeah, well, I was talking about this man with 4% African DNA.
Yeah.
So he wants to be identified as African American now, and I was asking myself why. Now I'm going to throw it out to you. You're not going to get the right answer because it's very strange.
Oh, you never know.
Go on then.
Why the reason he wants to identify as black?
Well, yeah, he'd an ulterior motive,
and he's living in America.
Yeah.
Benefits.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Because you're pissed off to them after getting it. Because in certain parts of America, I think black people an ethnic minority or class as something different, so they get different benefits to help them. Brilliant.
Yes. Yeah. Now this man is owns a business, so it seems to apply to businesses as well. And this will probably piss you off when you hear the name of the name of the government department or whatever that looks after it. But yeah, businesses.
Well, hold on, you wrote me off and said I'd never get that.
Yeah, no, you did really well.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no,
a bit of appreciation goes a long way, folks.
So basically, there's a benefit for being like not just an individual, but if you're
a black businessman.
Yes, if you run a company, so if it's a minority owned company, and this is probably really going to piss you off. So I checked up like who decides. So I was thinking, how could I identify? So the man was obviously doing this so he could get tax benefits or whatever the benefit is, the financial benefit. But I was thinking, how do you decide then? Like, what is the cutoff point? You know, who decides if you're a minority company? So you're not going to like this one. The full title of the people that decide this is the Office of Minority and Women's Business Enterprise.
So they're classing women as minorities.
Yes. Well, they've ironically not classed them as minorities, I suppose, by separating them. But yeah, they're putting them in. They're lumping them in
they're identifying that they were at once upon a time a minority that they had no votes and whatever.
Yeah, and if you're a woman who owns a business, you're going to get the same benefit as an African American, over a man who owns a business. Any comment on that? So they're the people that will certify, this business is minority owned.
Yeah, no, there definitely has to be a check in place in relation to it, for sure.
I agree.
So I understand the whole point. If you are in a minority, you want the goal is, I suppose, to integrate these people into society, so they're no longer a minority; they're just who they are.
Yeah, and let them
they're
do
part
it
of
by
society.
getting on the financial rung.
Yeah, so they're helping them with education, they're helping them with housing, they're helping them with finding jobs and whatever else the case is. You know, if you don't give these people money, they're going to resort to crime, which isn't going to help either. So I think they're giving them every opportunity they can to become part of society.
Okay. You know, I appreciate that. I suppose I should have asked it more clearly. I mean, it's
but I don't think,
thing.
but I don't
think
it should be labelled the minority. So what I'm trying to get at here, and I might not articulate this properly, but why does it have to be an African American? So are we saying it's the African American people in a particular area because they're generally demographically the people that are in poverty in a particular state or city or whatever the case might be? So why not just give it to all poor people, all people who have a certain level of income? So therefore, it doesn't matter if you're black or white.
Juice, you're brilliant. You're absolutely on fire tonight, Goldie. Because it turns out this guy wasn't really a scam artist. He's doing this. He's suing this office, this government office. But he's not. They're claiming he's doing it just to try and make a quick buck.
But he is.
And he is.
And highlighting the point.
But he's highlighting the point. He's saying, how do you clarify someone who's black? That was his first issue. He says, how do you identify someone who's black? So he has 4% DNA. He's being facetious, but he's making a fair point. No one presumably has 100% African American DNA. You know, you're clearly a mixture Caucasian American because you go as far back. His identification now in his birth cert is black, Native American, Caucasian, and Hispanic. Now he said the Hispanic is just out of solidarity with his Hispanic brothers, but the first three, Brilliant. He has a certain amount of DNA of Native American in him. So I think he's making a really interesting point because he says he says in the letter he wrote to them, how black do you have to be? Is it Condoleezza Rice? Is it Snoop Dogg? And he named the list of people. So he says you can't. And now their response pissed him off, and this is partly why.
Is this your nuke?
No, I just think it's really interesting.
Okay.
And he says, they said to him that you don't know because you're not black yourself. So that a black person, he's kind of saying, they're basically saying that I can't know how you define a black person because I'm not black, and they're saying they know because they're black. A black person knows a black person. I think he's raising a really good point because that's a shit answer. You know, that you can't know, like, you know, that kind of joke we would have heard as kids. Do you know how bad it was in Vietnam? And the answer is like, you can't know, you weren't there. That kind of thing. It's a cop out. So fair fucks to the guy, even if it is a quick book or whatever, even publicity for his company.
It's good to make the point because it's pushing too far to one side, and I think this highlights that. Let's stop branding people differently. We're all equal. We're all the same. We're all entitled to the same rights, the same standard of living. Stop labeling ourselves as black, white, Irish, Catholic, Protestant, Apache, whatever it is. We're all just people. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen. That's where it needs to be pushed.
Maybe that is where we'd end up. Maybe these
I
kind
hope
of
so.
faux pas along the way. But what also got me thinking about it was if a woman gets this benefit, and you think of what we were talking about earlier about transgender. If I chose as a smart business move to identify as transgender, I make a profit out of it if I own a company.
And that's probably the next thing that'll happen. Yeah. Like, what's to stop you tomorrow deciding in your workplace, or me tomorrow deciding in my workplace, that I'm going to identify this way? You're perfectly entitled to do it, and it's open to what's the word I'm looking for? It's open to abuse.
Yeah. It is. But I suppose so many things are.
But everything is. Yeah. Everything in life is. It's just new to us, I guess, which is why it's somewhat fascinating.
I remember getting into a debate once with someone, and they said, look, basically our government, I don't know if this is correct or not, but he was saying, our government allows you to identify as whoever you want. They just don't have to recognise you as such. I think that's a good distinction. Yes. You're free to identify as who you want, but we do not have to set rules in place to benefit you necessarily.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair compromise, in fairness. We're coming toward. We're actually. It's a long show tonight, and you've talked about a debate, which is interesting. You said you had a debate with somebody recently, which will lead us into our next segment. But before we go into that segment and finish with the news, what is your nuke this week, Charlie?
I suppose that's my nuke. Now, if we're stuck for time, I have one more story. Do you have any more stories?
Is it no? But like what you're saying is your nuke is going to be better than all those stories you've had so far.
No, I don't think so.
So you basically went with the flow rather than leaving the nuke. That's the nuke. Sorry, folks, we won't be having the nuke this week on our show, but that's fine. It's fine. He's only.
Do you have a nuke?
settle himself back in. I don't bring nukes.
All right. So okay. So I find out now I have to bring a nuke.
No, you were told, and you always brought nukes because your stories were generally subpar, and you had to have something to bring it back. That was how it was founded. Let's be honest.
No,
but your stories tonight have been quite good. In fairness to you, we're going to move on to another new part of our show called Debatable, and we're basically going to play a game of Debatable, and because it's a great little game, I'll give it a little plug here. Debatable, a seriously silly party game for people who love to argue, and who loves to argue no more than yourself and myself. This is made by Mind Made Games, actually made in China. 3 to 16 players, ages 15 plus, 30 to 120 minutes. Great little game, and basically the whole point is we debate a topic. We'll have some quirks. So, for example, we'll take this: should child models be banned? So myself and Charlie will have to argue that, and we'll get a little quirk, and it'll be blame the animals. So I'll have to blame the animals, and Charlie might have to be ridiculously polite throughout the whole debate. So it's just a fun little game. If we were playing the full game, obviously people would rate us, and there'd be points awarded, and all the usual razzmatazz that goes with these kind of games. Do you understand the premise?
I do.
And we'll have, I suppose, as long as it takes. You'd normally have a moderator, but we'll try and moderate ourselves as much as we possibly can.
Or we do the timer, will we?
Well, see, it doesn't work like that, but I'll be the moderator as well. Okay.
Stupid question, I suppose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll let you pick the debate, will I?
Yeah.
Okay.
We both have to debate the same debate.
Yes.
Obviously, that was... Yeah, okay.
But I get to decide who's yes and who's no. So we're moderating ourselves in a very fair way.
Okay. So, the debate topic is... Should we stop photoshopping models?
Should we stop photoshopping models? And I'm going to select you to vote yes, that we should start photoshopping models.
Stop. Photoshop.
We should stop, yes. And I'm going to vote no, that we should keep photoshopping them. You have a look at your quirk there. It'll be the first one that it's this one. That'll be your quirk. And my quirk is this.
I think we should try and guess the person's quirk after doing it. I think that's
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
You fucking agreed with me.
Okay. So now we're going to open up with your argument. So you'll get an opportunity to speak. I won't interrupt you. Then I'll get an opportunity to speak. You won't interrupt me. Then we'll go into a little debate. Then we'll have a closing argument. Okay. So go ahead, Charlie, and give us your reasons that we should stop photoshopping.
I'm glad you gave me the easy side of the argument, because it's quite clear that models have a very high power in our society, and that they influence the minds and the behaviour of young girls and older girls as well, and young men. So if we present an unrealistic view of the human body or human fashion, if it's too expensive or whatever, if we are showing young people images that are not really related to life because they've been showed Photoshop, whether a model has been made thinner, her breasts have been reduced, she's been made taller, whatever it is, that creates an inferiority complex on the young girl who's watching or whatever. But I think that there's no way that you can argue against that one, to be honest.
Okay.
So
thank you.
no, I'm not done. If I could have another minute, if that's
okay,
all right.
You'll have another second, yeah.
Another second. Okay. I think as well it's unfair on the models themselves, because if I've decided to go into...
This is just your opening statement.
Oh, sorry. Oh, right.
Do you know what I mean?
All right, well, I don't think you'll come up with a better opening statement than that.
Okay, well, my opening statement in relation to this is, does a bear shit in the woods? Like, let's be honest about it. Everyone knows it happens. We can't prove it. All right? We don't know. So, I think the most important thing here, I know I'm after totally skewing that argument up, but I'll continue anyway, right, is we get sick of looking at stuff in our reality, in our lives. We all get up in the morning, we go to work, we go through basically life struggle, whether it's college, work, travelling, transporting to all these different places, public transport, whatever. We spend a lot of our time on the go. We probably don't have time to look after ourselves. We don't have time to look after our bodies. And we recognise that maybe other women don't, men and women, we don't. None of us have the time to do this stuff. So we're settling for less lately. Do you know what I mean? We don't have time to go out after that supermodel. Because in order to do that, I have to be a certain way or I have to do a certain thing. So now what we can do is we can just look at this shit in magazines and fantasize about it and live that fucking dream. It's a window. It's a tool for us. So that's why we need to keep Photoshop women. And this guy walked into a bar the other day and said, ouch. Do you know what I mean? So, that's me.
Did you hear about the horse that walked into the bar?
No.
The barman said, white long face.
Very good, very good. So now we're going to start we've got their opening statements and we're going to start our arguments. So basically what you're trying to tell me, Charlie, is that we're giving a bad complex to our children, that they have to, look like this, and if they don't look like this, they're not normal and they won't be accepted, and it's on an unattainable goal. Is that what you're saying? We've heard the argument 100 times before. Do you know what I mean?
Doesn't mean
all right, Paddy Irishman, Paddy Scotsman, we're on a plane. All right, there's only 2 parachutes, planes crashing. Who gets it? Do you know what I mean? I can't remember the fucking joke.
And a Photoshop one gets it. So let's go back to your argument. For ignoring for a moment that you haven't disproved mine, and I defy you to come up with a better argument than this one, to be honest. You are basically saying because it already is in existence, because it's out there, you can't put it back in the box, so just let it continue. So because there's paedophiles out there in the world, we shouldn't try to prevent paedophilia happen. Just let it be, continue.
No,
that's your exact same
but the
logic.
problem,
because it's already
what
out
I'm saying
there,
is it not bad that people are so busy in their daily lives that they don't have the time to work out? They're settling for less. So give them a little bit of a fantasy in looking at these photographs. But also, not only that, it might, in a weird way, encourage them to attain that goal again and get out there and be fit. It could actually be a dual benefit for these people. Do you know what I mean? All right, I walked into a butcher's there the other day and I said, I bet you can't reach those steaks. And he says, no way, the steaks are so high. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do about it? It's common sense. And if people just looked at it normally, there wouldn't be an issue.
But if we take your butcher analogy for a second there.
If you take, for example, why did the chewing gum cross the road?
Because it was stuck to the chicken's foot.
Exactly. You're on the same wavelength as me. You know where I'm going with this.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. You've proved your point perfectly there. I still don't think you've come near to proving mine, and I defy you to prove it. Because you're not going to. There's absolutely no way you can prove that I'm wrong. There's absolutely no way that you can prove what you've said is right, because it's based on spurious logic. No logic at all, actually.
Based on common sense. It's based on common sense.
Common sense. So basically, we should make people show them unrealistic images of themselves, of other humans.
Well, I'm not saying that we shouldn't censor it. Maybe it should be restricted or made available to certain people.
No, the question is, should we stop it? And you're saying
I'm saying no, we shouldn't. We need to keep photoshopping for the reasons I've just outlined.
Right. Do
you understand? How do you make a snooker table laugh? You put your hand in his pocket and tiddle its balls. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's brilliant.
It's quite simple. So that's our arguments. All right.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a closing argument. I don't know. We leave it at that. That's what we'll do. So can you? And basically, what would happen now? We'd have a round of voting, and if it was a draw, we'd have to come up with a tagline for our campaign, and then the adjudicator would decide a
tiebreaker. There is
a tiebreaker essentially. So do you know what I was, or what was my quirk?
Yeah, telling jokes.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Telling bad jokes was my quirk.
Bad jokes.
Make bad jokes as a distraction.
Okay.
And yours was somebody that just denied everything I said.
No, good try though. No, it's to give you ultimatums. Okay. You will not come back from this. You will not do this.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it was give your opponent an ultimatum. I suppose you did do that. So who do you think won that situation?
A draw.
Are we going with a draw?
I think we both
and we let the people decide. It's a great game. You can imagine how it plays with a group of party people.
Coming up Christmas, great present.
It's
Stocking filler.
It's a great gift in relation to it.
Give it to year one. From
There you
Cuba.
go. There you
What was
go.
her name?
Who?
The Cuban.
From the shop.
Yeah.
Oh,
Marcy? No.
Leslie Cabezas Martinova.
Stocking filler for her.
A stocking filler for Leslie Cabezas Martinova. Thanks a
Lovely.
million for watching. It's been absolutely fantastic
It has.
to have you back
Great
on the
to-
show.
I am. And I'm
To have
never
a
made
show,
the same
I
mistake.
suppose.
I'm glad you didn't do one without me.
I would never do it without you. So, listen, folks, we are back. Midnight in Baghdad, season 5. Good night, God bless, and thanks for listening.